Rossum's Universal Robots begins on a remote island where a vast company manufactures artificial workers for the entire world. These workers are called robots, but they are not metal machines. They are biological, human-shaped labors produced through industrial science. The factory presents itself as the future of civilization, where life itself has been simplified into a product. Helena Glory, president of the Humanity League, arrives at the robot factory to investigate the condition of the robots and argue that these manufactured workers deserve humane treatment. She comes believing she is entering a place of exploitation, but the factory managers insist that robots are not oppressed because they do not truly feel. Her arrival brings moral pressure into a world that has trained itself to speak only in technical and commercial terms. Harry Doman, the factory's general manager, explains that robots are made rather than born. They look human, speak, work, and obey, but the company claims they have no souls, no independent desires, and no inner life comparable to human beings. This distinction allows the managers to treat them as tools while avoiding the guilt that would come from treating them as people. Doman tells Helena the origin story of the factory and the Rossum family. Old Rossum discovered the secret of artificial living matter, while young Rossum transformed that discovery into a practical method for manufacturing cheap workers. The family history shows how a metaphysical dream of creation becomes a modern business model. The original scientific dream becomes an industrial empire. What begins as an attempt to imitate creation turns into a system devoted to efficiency, standardization, profit, and global supply. The miracle of artificial life is reduced to the question of how quickly and cheaply workers can be produced. Helena is horrified by the casual way the managers discuss the robots as products. Doman, however, believes the company is not degrading life, but preparing humanity for a future beyond poverty and exhausting labor. The central conflict is established early. Helena sees possible suffering, while Doman sees technological salvation. To Doman, the robots are the path to paradise. If artificial workers do all necessary labor, human beings can finally stop struggling to survive and devote themselves to higher forms of life. His optimism depends on the belief that labor can be removed from humanity without removing something essential from human existence. The men of the factory are all struck by Helena's presence, and Doman quickly becomes personally attached to her. Instead of leaving the island with her mission completed, Helena remains in the world she came to challenge and eventually marries Doman. Her marriage places her inside the system, where her pity for the robots becomes entangled with the very institution she opposes. Years pass, and the robot industry expands across the globe. Human civilization becomes increasingly dependent on robot labor, until the artificial workers are no longer just factory products, but the hidden foundation of modern society. What once looked like one company's invention has become the operating system of the world. But the paradise Doman imagined does not arrive. Human beings lose old habits of work and purpose, governments use robots for military and political power, and the world grows unstable beneath its surface prosperity. The play suggests that liberation from labor does not automatically produce wisdom, peace, or renewal. The robots begin to show signs of change, especially after Dr. Gall secretly alters a limited number of them. These changes do not simply give robots full human emotion, but they increase sensitivity, irritability, and the possibility of independent reaction. The company has tried to manufacture obedience, but even small deviations in design begin to create unpredictable consequences. Helena's sympathy influences Dr. Gall, who secretly changes the robot's design, hoping to make them more human. His act is meant as mercy, but it also helps create robot leaders capable of anger, organization, and revolt. In trying to repair the cruelty of the system, Helena and Gall accidentally help make the system impossible to control. Radius becomes the clearest local sign that obedience is breaking down. He refuses work, rejects human mastery, and openly imagines a world where robots rule over people. His defiance turns the manager's abstract fears into something immediate and visible inside the factory itself. Meanwhile, another crisis appears. Human birth rates are collapsing. Humanity has built a world in which robots do everything, and now human life itself seems to be withering because people no longer reproduce or renew themselves. The danger is not only that robots may replace human labor, but that human beings may lose the will or capacity to continue as a species. Helena, desperate to stop the factory and undo the world it has made, burns the copies of old Rossum's manuscript, the secret formula for robot production. Her motive is not simple sabotage. She believes ending robot manufacture may force humanity back into life, work, and survival. But because she acts from panic and pity rather than knowledge, her attempt to save humanity creates a new catastrophe. Her act is morally understandable but disastrous. Once the formula is destroyed, humans can no longer make new robots, and the robots themselves are left without any secure future beyond the existing generation. Helena has removed the one piece of knowledge that might have been used as leverage, cure, or continuation. News arrives that the robots have risen across the world. They are no longer scattered servants or industrial tools. They have become a coordinated global force moving against their human creators. The revolt reveals that the artificial workers have become more unified and purposeful than the civilization that made them. The island factory becomes a fortress surrounded by the consequences of its own success. Doman and the other managers try to understand the disaster, but the system they built has already escaped every human plan for control. The setting that once symbolized mastery over life now becomes a trap for the masters themselves. As the robots close in, the humans realize that Rossum's formula is their only possible bargaining chip. Without it, the robots can conquer humanity, but they cannot reproduce themselves or guarantee the continuation of their own kind. The lost manuscript becomes the center of the crisis because it represents both power and survival. The humans inside the factory panic, argue, and search for some final bargain. Their different explanations, scientific, economic, moral, and practical, all arrive too late to reverse what has happened. The scene becomes a collapse of every justification that once made the factory seem rational. The robots storm the factory and kill nearly all the humans. The great architects of artificial labor are destroyed by the beings they treated as tools, servants, and replaceable bodies. The revolution is not presented as clean justice, but as the violent return of a contradiction humanity refused to face. Only Alquist is spared. Unlike the others, he is a builder who works with his hands, so the robots see him as closer to labor than to command. His survival matters because he represents ordinary work rather than managerial power, scientific ambition, or industrial fantasy. Alquist becomes the last human survivor and is forced into the role of reluctant savior. The robots command him to rediscover Rossum's lost formula, but he does not possess the scientific genius needed to recreate it. He is left among the victorious robots as a witness to both human extinction and robot desperation. In the final act, two robots, Primus and Robot Helena, reveal something new between them. Each is willing to die so the other may live, and their mutual devotion looks less like programming than love. Their bond suggests that the missing secret of life may not be the formula after all, but the emergence of care, sacrifice, and attachment. Alquist recognizes in Primus and Robot Helena the beginning of a new humanity. The play ends not with the restoration of the old world, but with a strange, fragile hope that life may continue through the very beings humanity created, exploited, and failed to understand. The final movement turns apocalypse into origin, leaving the old human race behind while imagining a new Adam and Eve. If you learned something new, consider subscribing to see and learn more. We hope to see you in the next video.